Like, how long are you willing to wait to have sex? And if you can't stay any real reasonable amount of time and really just wait and enjoy your own company, how is a man, like, why would a man wait for that? Always, when I watch After the Fact, I always see it up around my shirt up here, hopped up around all these. Tonight's live is going to be about celibacy, and it's going to be about the ways that we tend to misuse celibacy or misunderstand celibacy, and why we can't kind of keep up with it sometimes when we're trying to be celibate for a purpose. I know I have failed at celibacy way more times than I actually succeeded at celibacy. But in my defense, I was young and dumb, and I'm sure you know the rest. So I don't have that problem anymore. But get started. Tonight's live is about celibacy, which is a subject I know a whole lot about, whether I liked it or not. So I wanted to talk about it because I know a lot of us use celibacy as like a weapon, or try to use it as a tool to get men to kind of do what we want. You know what I mean? We'll use it as a tool, like, oh, well, maybe if I don't have sex with him, he'll respect me, and this and that and the other. And then we'll wind up in the same position no matter how long we worked at it. No matter, how long we wait. A lot of people, there was a backlash about Steve Harvey when he put that book out, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And a lot of men were saying that doesn't work. When you're doing the 90-day rule, it doesn't work, because it's just like, well, just wait 90 days. That doesn't really work. You wonder why, like, you're doing the right thing, but why it isn't, like, panning out the way you want it to pan out. And that's because I learned, and this is totally by, like, again, trial and error for me. I learned a lot of things about celibacy, and I didn't learn them until, honestly, I decided I was going to not have sex, like, ever again. Like, that was really my goal, was to not have sex ever again. Or not even a goal. Like, to be honest, it came from a place of hurt. Like, at that point, I had my second daughter, and I was dating somebody, and then that didn't work out, and I really was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was in a place where I was just so fed up, and I was just like, you know what? I might be just that bad at dealing with men that maybe that's just something that's not for me. But that's not my portion in this lifetime, and I'm okay with that, because I can't keep going through this with these dudes. Like, it is too much, and I'm not getting anything out of it. You know what I mean? Like, you go through these things where you're dealing with people and dealing with people and dealing with people, and you just got to sit down and think to yourself, like, why am I doing this? What am I getting out of it? You know what I mean? And so I was fed up. I was so fed up, and I was determined not to have sex anymore. And it wasn't even a thing. At that point, it wasn't a struggle. There were times where it was a struggle. It wasn't a struggle at that point, but there were times before when I was just like, I'm not going to have sex anymore, for the same reasons, but I was still feeling like the sex itself was enough of a lure to keep having sex. Like, I went through a phase. I always got stories for days. So I was like 23 years old. I only had the one daughter. She was like a toddler or something. And I remember one night we all was sitting in the living room. It was me, my grandma, my aunt. I think my grandfather was there too. And we were watching Chappelle's show. And so it was the skit where he was Klan, but he was a black guy. He was blind, and he didn't know that he was black. He thought he was white. And so he was said something about Condoleezza Rice, but he called it cunnilingus rice. So anyway, me and my aunt were cracking up, and then my grandma was like, what's that? And we was like, you don't know what that is? She was like, no. So my aunt explained it to her, and then she was like, oh, you would let somebody do that to you? And then I swear for the Lord, I didn't even think about it. I just was like, every chance I get. And I remember, like, years and years and years later, we went to Longhorn or something for Mother's Day. It was all of us there, and they brought it back up, and I was like so horrified that I had said that, but I remembered what they were talking about, and I was like, that's where my head was at that time. No, I was just like, and I remember being one of them girls that was just like, oh, I can't go without having sex. Like, maybe I can go for a couple months or whatever, but I always need to have something, even if it's just a little cut buddy or something. Like, I can't just be out here not having sex and not be that I could call somebody and have sex with them. And so it was just I don't want to say it was a weird time, because, like, it's fun. Sex is fun. And sex is supposed to be fun. Sex is supposed to be fun. You know what I mean? Sex can give some people energy. It's a positive thing overall. But sometimes when you are like just putting yourself, sometimes when you're just putting yourself out there and you're having the sex, but you're not necessarily getting the other things that you want to come along with the sex. And that goes back to my last live where I was talking about being honest. The one about cuffing season, where I was talking about being honest with yourself about what it is you really want to get. Overall, it can wind up being draining to just keep having, friends with benefits or even boyfriends or whatever like that, but you're just having all this sex, but you're not really getting a lot of closeness or intimacy or, energy exchange between people. So I just wanted to give you a few notes on how you can use celibacy to actually get something for yourself. So I'll start with why it's not working. Some of the ways that you're kind of failing yourself at doing celibacy. One is you view it as deprivation. Another story, my youngest daughter's father. I remember one day, like we had not a weird relationship. He was a good friend of me. And even though he wasn't, like, we weren't getting along per se with my daughter because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, but I still had faith that he would get himself together. So sometimes, I would come and we would chit and chat. So one day we were talking, I took the baby, we went to the park or something, and he was doing shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Now, he would do shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and I call shoulda, coulda, wouldas when they just like, oh, I wish it would have been different between us. It should have been you, blah, 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 blah. Because at this point, he has, like, 2 kids or 1.5 kids with his new chick at the time, and he just shoulda, coulda, woulda-ing me. And I'm like, well, I'm still open, and I speak about this in my book. But I was just basically like, I'm still open to the idea of us being together someday, but it's just certain things that you would need to do for me to know that you were actually ready. It would be different this time. And one of those things would be for him to be by himself. Now, mind you, I was so used to him having somebody all the time. Like, I didn't know what was going on right before me and him got together, but I know me and him had got together. And then he had cheated on me while we were together. He actually had cheated on me 2 different times, and I wound up leaving him when I was about 8 months pregnant because he had cheated on me with somebody. And mind you, this wasn't just like sexual cheating. This was like emotional cheating, like, oh, this is my soulmate, blah, 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 blah. Like, so every time you mess with somebody, you wind up, it's always overlapping with people. And I was just like, I would need to see you be able to stand on your own and be by yourself without having to have somebody there in order for me to know that it's really me, because like I know why I care about you. I don't want to just be with you because you're a body. I want to be with you because you're you, and I would need to know that you want to be with me because I'm me, and I would need to see you be able to be by yourself and get your life together on your own and focus on that so that I know you're really ready to commit. And he was just like, oh, what, you want me to be a monk or something? And I'm just like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, especially if you feel like you're going to get something of value out of it, it don't have to be you depriving yourself. It's you preparing yourself for something you really, really want. And so that's one of the things that I noticed, like, even when I would speak about being celibate, and I would tell people how long I've been celibate because, okay, after I had my last daughter, I didn't have sex for like a year. And when I say I didn't have sex, I wasn't even close to having sex for like a year. And I wasn't trying to be for like a year. And then somebody just fell in my lap. We started dating. And then I was dealing with him. And then that didn't work out. So then that's when I really got to that point where I was like, I don't want to do it no more. I'm done with these guys. I'm done with all this stuff. I can't take it. And I really was like committed to not doing it. And I was perfectly happy with that decision. And that lasted for about 4 years. And then at that point, then I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I was feeling all the benefits, and I'll talk about what the benefits are a little later, of being by myself and having a clear mind and not being stressed out about somebody not calling me or thinking somebody's playing me or, trying to read into Instagram comments and emojis. And, like, it was just, I would really sit sometimes and just be like, I feel really at peace. Like, I'm really not stressed about anything. And it was just such a wonderful film. Like, I'm so glad that I'm not worrying about all that same kind of bullshit that I'd be worried about if I was messing with somebody, that I probably didn't need to be messing with. And I spoke about that in my other couple of lives. Like, I just had so much extra free time from not dealing with bullshit. So thinking about it as if you're depriving yourself of something, then you're always going, it's like going on a diet. You know what I mean? Like, when they say, when you have that mindset of, I'm going on a diet, you're doomed to fail, because you're feeling like, well, I'm just doing this in the meantime, or I'm just doing this to get skinny, and then I'm going to go back to eating how I want. So you may even get to your goal weight, but then you go back to eating how you were eating before, and then you blow up again. So it's not a progressive mindset. You have to look at it as if you're doing this as a lifestyle. And it doesn't mean you're never going to have sex again. Now, like I said, in my point, in my mind, I was like, I'm never going to do it again. But again, and I said this in one of my last slides, I prepared myself for just in case I faltered. Like, I made sure that I had my birth control on deck for whatever, no matter what. So that way I was able to be realistic about myself, you know what I mean, and what I knew me to be and how I knew me to act. So I wouldn't be sitting there saying, oh, well, I wasn't going to be having sex and now I'm pregnant again. You know what I mean? Because I've been through that before. So I just, you got to look at it like you're doing it for a specific type of reason. And you got to understand, like, how can you expect anybody, like I was talking about how we use it as a tool against men, but how can you expect anybody to wait for you and put some value on you if you don't put enough value on yourself to wait for yourself? You know what I mean? Like, we think about celibacy like, oh man, I ain't had sex. And we say, and we mark down the times. Like, I've heard people talk about, why I ain't had sex in this many days or this many weeks or whatever. Like, if you're counting it down on the clock, it's going to feel like, oh, but I'm going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, you making yourself crazy. But you got to think about it like that. Like, how long are you willing to wait to have sex? And if you can't stay any real reasonable amount of time and really just wait and enjoy your own company, how is a man, like, why would a man wait for that? You know what I mean? So that's definitely something you have to stop viewing it as deprivation. Also, that goes into my second point. You're using it as a means of manipulation. Like I said, men know the difference if you really about something or you're not. And the way they know a difference is because they wait you out. And that was one of the things that always used to trip me up with men. I used to always be like, I don't understand why they do this or why they did that, or it was so long ago that we was messing with each other and then they came back. Like, I don't understand why I thought that meant he loved me. Men don't care. They don't care how long it's been. They don't care how long it's waiting. And the thing is, they're tricky because they'll sit there and do the minimum. And we be falling for it because you'll have somebody that's in your DMs or in your text messages all the time. And they'll text you, good morning, good morning, good morning. And it's just a bunch of bullshit. Like, y'all don't even really do nothing. Y'all may go out once in a while, every time. Like, the last person that I was dating, which was about a year ago at this point, that was the last time we went out. But I've known him ever since about 2010 or so. And he would contact me, no lie, like every 12 to 18 months. He would contact, and we would go out. And this was for years. We went out once because we both worked at TSA. So we went out once while I was working there. Then we went out again not too long after I stopped working there. Then we went out again like a couple years after that. And then we started dating real heavy in like 2018, the end of 2018. No, 2019. No, this is 2020. Yeah, so the end of 2018, we started dating pretty heavy. And that was finally when he got some. And when you think of, like, dudes don't care. They will wait. They in it for the long haul. You know why? Because at the end of the day, as long as they get what they want to get, you know what I mean? They're going to go. They're going to come back. They're going to wait. They're going to do whatever. They're not going to put too much. Depending on the guy, they may put a little bit more effort or a little bit less effort. But again, like I said, once they get the stuff, you will notice a change. If they wasn't there, unless you like blow their mind. If they weren't, men don't settle. Yeah, they don't settle. They keep going and going and going. And men will take the time, like I said, they'll give you something. So they may take you on little dates here and there. They may take you on a trip or something here and there or whatever. But they're going to, they're going to wait you out. And that's why I say about not letting people hang around you. Because I always say this, like, you let anybody hang around you, don't for 1 second think that a dude is hanging around you just because he likes you. He's hanging around you trying to wait for you to drop some pussy he can catch. And that's the truth. They waiting for you to drop that pussy and they be right there. You know what I mean? Because that's why you cannot just be letting people sit around you like that. I swear for the Lord, I promise you, that is what they're waiting for. And they'll wait under the guise of being your friend. They'll wait under the guise of being your brother. They'll wait under the guise of being your baby father. You know what I mean? Like, but they are just waiting. Anybody that's always pressing you, if they not messing with you, and you be like, all right, cool, I'm about to go about my business. Oh, well, can't we be friends? That's code for, can I wait around until you're horny and you're going to give me a chance to hit them yams? That's what it is. So unless you really want to mess, just know, if you want to be friends with a guy, especially a guy that you already done mess with in some kind of way, they're just trying to position themselves to get vagina. So that being said, getting back to the subject at hand, when you use it as a means of manipulation, men get resentful. Men stop respecting you because they feel like you're fake. They feel like you're a hypocrite. And a lot of them think about it like, oh, well, you was busting it open for that guy. Especially when you have kids, you was busting it open for that guy, but you don't want to give me nothing. Like, men are very entitled at the end of the day. They're very entitled, and they feel like if you ever was a freak, if you ever did anything with a guy, then you should just be doing it with them because they want you to be honest. And I'll be honest, what helped me a lot during my celibacy journey was learning about how men think, because I did not know how men thought. I thought like good people thought. You get what I'm saying? And even the best of men think this way. And even if they don't necessarily put these things into practice, even if they don't necessarily like operate this way, because some men grow out of it and some men never really were into it. But most, I would say 7 out of 10 guys are somewhere in the middle. You know what they on? It's like a scale, and they on that spectrum. You get what I'm saying? So even if they not the worst type of guy in doing this, they think this way. You get what I'm saying? So you need to understand how men think. And the more I learned how men thought, the more disgusted I got, and the easier it was to be like, I don't want nobody. And let me tell you how committed I was. Because like I said, a lot of times we'll sit there and we'll be like, I'm celibate. So then you be celibate, and you're only as celibate as your options. You get what I'm saying? So you're only celibate right now because your phone is dry and your DMs is dry and nobody's talking to you that you want to have sex with. You get what I'm saying? But the minute somebody comes along, that's what happened to me when my youngest daughter was a year old. I was celibate. And I wasn't messing with nobody, and I didn't want to be bothered. But then a guy came along that seemed like a better guy than anybody I had been messing with up to that point. And I was just like, oh, well, this could be the one. He could be the guy. He's so different. That you get what I'm saying? So it's like you're only as celibate as your options. So then you go ahead and you're being celibate, and then you meet this guy, and you're like, oh, he could be the one. So then you stop being celibate, or you just go full throttle with it. And then you find out he's just like everybody else, or he treats you just like everybody else treated you. And now you hurt, now you sad, now you mad, now you're angry again. So now you're back to being celibate. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, I know because I've been there. I know because I've been through it. It's not genuine. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it out of anger or spite, or you're doing it to try to convince a guy that you're a way that you don't really feel. Because if you can so easily switch from being that way, then that's not really who you are. And mind you, I don't want you to think I'm saying just bust it open for everybody. That's not what I'm saying. That's not the move. That's not going to get you nothing either. But it's just understanding that anything that you do, doesn't have to be sex. It could be anything. It could be baking. It could be singing. It could be dancing. It's about being authentic with it. And if you're anything that you do inauthentically is not going to come off the way you want it to come off. And it's going to seem fake, and it's going to cause people to either not want to deal with you, or like I said, in the case of these guys who think a certain way, take advantage of your ignorance of their tactics of how they take advantage of women like that. And like I said, please do yourselves a favor. If you've never done it before, you may think you know how men think, but you have no idea how men think. And I spent all that time I was being celibate, I was learning, because I said, at some point, I'm still young. I may decide I want to date again. And when I date, I want to go in with knowledge. So you need to be armed. You need to be reading books. You really need to be watching these comments and stuff on social media. You know why? Because this is where the people are. And if you look at certain posts and you look at certain things and you see the trend of how people are talking, that is the thought processes that are out in the, majority of thought processes that are out in the world, and you need to be careful of that. And I'm telling you, you will learn some things. It was my biggest teacher, I have to say, was YouTube, because you can read books and stuff, but that's like a condensed, packaged, Hollywood version a lot of times of certain things. Like, people will try to sell you a dream, and I know you're like, girl, you wrote a book, what you talking about? But everything I talk about and the way I talk about it and the candid nature that I talk about it is in my book as well, and the link is in the bio so you can take a look and see. But like I said, when people are trying to sell you, that's another reason why I emphasize this page is not necessarily about, oh, your happy ending should be you getting a man. It doesn't have to be that, but I know that what I'm telling you about and what I'm trying to teach you will put you in a position to get the right kind of man for you, or the right kind of man that you want, or the kind of man that you're not going to get annoyed with after a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? So that being said, you have to approach this with the mindset of, I want to see what it is these men are how they think. You know what I mean? And these men, they're predators. And I don't want to make it seem, oh, they're predators, and you should be scared, or you should be angry. But I spent a long time being like disgusted, like I said, and angry, because I was like, this is how they really think. They know we have mommy issues. They know we have daddy issues. And so because they know those issues, they know what they look like. They know what a woman being rebellious against the fact that somebody left her looks like. You get what I'm saying? So when you get your heart broken and then you're like, oh, I'm celibate, and then they meet you and you like, oh, I'm celibate, they like, yeah, I just gotta take you on a few good dates and give you a few dinners, and that's going to be that. So you have to be mindful. You have to stand on something a bit stronger than that when you're choosing to be celibate, because otherwise they're going to see right through that house of cards and they're going to, just demolish you. So that being said, now we can get into how to do it effectively. So that's your mindset. Like I said, you always got to have due diligence. You have to have, a certain focus to be able to accomplish anything you want to do. So if you want to do celibacy successfully, what you have to do is you have to set your mind up about what it is you're trying to get out of it. So when I went into celibacy this last time, that 4-year span of celibacy, what I went into it going for was, I want to be happy in my own life. I don't want to be living my life feeling like I'm missing out on something because I don't have a man. I know prior to that, I would go places and I would do things and I would have fun experiences, but I would always be finding myself thinking, you know what, this would be so much more fun if I had my man. Whether it was a particular person I had in mind or just a ideal person I had in mind, it was just like, oh, this would be so much better if I had a man with me by my side and we could enjoy this as a couple. You know what I mean? And it was just so much stuff that I was never fully present and never fully enjoying my life, because I was just like, I don't have a man. She got a man. I would be so sad. Like, when I would see people, I would say I would always feel happy for other people when I would see them in seemingly nice relationships, but then I would immediately get sad for myself, like, why don't I have that? You know what I mean? So I was not really enjoying my life, and I was like, I'm tired of not enjoying my life. I'm tired of feeling like my life hasn't started. You know what I mean? Because I'm still getting older, but I don't feel like I have a life. I want to have a life. I want to enjoy the life that I have. And I don't want to be walking around with this burden of, oh, I don't have nobody. You know what I mean? And I was like, if that means I never have anybody, I'm okay with that. Like, I can remember from very early on in my maidenhood, being a young woman and coming in and liking boys and stuff like that, I had a couple distinct fears. And one of the fears was that I would never get married until I was in like my 60s and 70s. I don't know where that fear came from, but I was just like, I hated the idea of I go through my whole young life when I'm cute and everything like that, and I got all my energy, and I don't have nobody, and then I get old and I don't want to move, and I barely want to have sex or something, I go through menopause and all that, and then I find my man. I had this joke because that's anybody, I know y'all seen that book, God, Where's My Boaz? And I was like, I called my girlfriend up one day, I was like, God, where is my Boaz? And then I told her, we saw like this thing on Instagram, like a meme, and it showed this old lady in a wedding dress, and the old man, they was talking about, this is when they want to settle down or something like that, and I was like, oh, this one be me at the altar talking about, God, here is my Boaz. Like that was a fear of mine, and I can laugh about it now, but I was legit scared of it. Like, I did not want to do that. So you definitely want to have a goal in mind of why it is you want to be celibate. Like, it's really important, and it needs to be more than just, oh, I don't want to get these niggas pussy, they don't deserve it, or I want to get a good man. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to work. You have to be in a state of receiving instead of getting. And what I mean by that is you have to be in a state of accepting the good things that life is offering you, as opposed to getting the things that you think that you want. The whole time that I was miserable, I was in pursuit of things that I thought I wanted. I was in pursuit of particular people. I was in pursuit of particular jobs. I was in pursuit of particular lifestyles. And then when I didn't get those things, it made me feel bad. It made me feel unvaluable. It made me feel like I was a failure. And it sucked, you know what I mean? And it just perpetuated itself. And the worse I felt, the more I chased, and the more I failed, and the worse I felt. You know what I mean? So it just kept going and going and going. And it wasn't until I said, you know what, God, I am going to accept and appreciate what it is you are setting before me. Because no, you didn't give me those things that I think that I want, but you've given me so much else, and I've been ignoring it. And I've been feeling like I didn't have anything when I have all these blessings in front of me, and like, I need to enjoy them. I want to enjoy these blessings. And that works for everything across the board. Like, you just feel so much better. I cannot describe how many days I just sit and cry with gratitude for all of my blessings. And a lot of this stuff is the same stuff that I had. And some of this stuff I have even less in some cases than I had before. But I feel so grateful for where I am and what I have and where I appear to be going now. You know what I mean? And I don't feel that need to try to pursue something else. So you really have to be in a state of receiving instead of trying to get things. Because a lot of times we try to get stuff, and then sometimes we even get the stuff. And that's the crazy part that'll really blow your mind. Like, sometimes you get what it is you asked for, and then you get it and you like, ooh, I don't like this. You know what I mean? Or this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Or I don't know. You know what I mean? And then you're still unhappy, or you're even more unhappy before, because you done wasted all this time trying to pursue this thing. And now you're still unhappy, or you're worse for the wear for having pursued it and what you've used and given up to pursue this thing. So you really have to start getting into a mindset of receiving. And like they said, men are supposed to chase you. You're not supposed to chase men. And that is why. Because you're always going to be at a deficit. When you are chasing men, you're always going to be at a deficit. You're always going to feel like you're less than. Because that's not how we're built. We're built to receive the good things life has to offer. And when I feel like women are more receptive to the good things that life has to offer. Like, when we're really in our vibe, we can go. That's that you know, that's that type of vibe. That's us all day long. Black girl magic. You know what I mean? Like, and we gotta really lean on that. We're so busy trying to always perform and prove people wrong, and you know, we're used to chasing, and we're used to getting disappointed. I was used to being disappointed. But when you get into your gratitude bag, oh my gosh, like, you get so many wonderful surprises. Like, life is just like a big old surprise box. You know what I mean? So definitely get into the state of receiving instead of pursuing. So now I have a few things that I actually did. Like, how did I get myself prepared to be celibate? And how did I keep myself in the mindset of being celibate? Because you're going to be tempted. You're going to be getting lonely. The night's going to come. It's going to be that night where the lights down low and the rain is pouring and, you watching The Notebook or something, whatever it is. And you're going to get in that mindset, oh, man, I wish I had somebody here with me right now. Like, this would really be the move. So some of the things that you can do to kind of get yourself to that state, because we've all been there where you didn't have sex for a while, maybe on purpose, and you were fiending for a while, but then at a certain point you're like, oh, I'm okay. So this is just to get you past that detox point. You know what I mean? So the first thing I did was I stopped listening to any kind of sexual or romantic music, because like I said, nothing puts you in the mood like that. You'll be sitting there listening to something and you start listening to that When We, or what I mean, listen to Chris Brown or something like that, and then you be like, calling them. You know what I mean? Because you can't take it. You're there. Your mind is there. Our minds are a powerful thing. So once you get yourself in that feeling of wanting to be sexy, you want to call them up. Next thing is you have to decline offers for men. And this goes back to what I was talking about before. Celibacy is not about opportunity. It's about, discipline. So it's one thing when you're just like, oh, I'm not going to have sex with anybody unless they sexy. Or you're like, no, I'm not having sex with someone because I'm trying to learn how to appreciate my life as it is. So if I have sex with this person, even though he looks great on paper, you know what I mean? I still can wind up putting myself, I don't know if I'm going for this for the right reasons. And that's an understanding you have to reach. Like, you have to understand that celibacy is about learning about yourself and getting in touch with yourself. And if you've been having a bad time with picking men like I was, I really needed to kind of check myself and figure out, why is that? Like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And if you just going for knee-jerk reactions, you're going to keep doing the wrong thing. So you need to decline offers. I do have a story about that as well. One time I was working at this job where I had to keep driving around out in the counties and stuff, to different like Sam's Clubs and Costco's and stuff like that. And I was selling things. So I was out at this Costco somewhere. I don't even know where it was. I think it was still in Pennsylvania, but it wasn't nowhere near Philly. And I was there for about a couple days. And then like, I walked in the morning. I had to go like in the back and then sign in and then go to my little station. So I was going through the back, and this guy approached me, and he was really cute. Like, he was tall. He was a black guy. He was like the only black guy that worked there. He actually worked at the place, not with me. And he approached me. He was just like, hey, he was very respectful. He was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that if you have a boyfriend, he's really lucky, because I just think you're really beautiful. Mind you, I used to get dressed up because it was a sales job. So I used to get dressed up, put on makeup like this, not so loud, but I would put on my makeup and everything, make sure I look really nice. And so he was just like, oh, I just wanted to let you know, if you have a boyfriend, like, he's really lucky, because I just think you're really beautiful. And I remember it was one of those like girlfriends moments when Joan used to come out at you at the screen and she'd be talking straight to you. It was one of those things, but to myself, and I was just like, okay, this is a pivotal moment here. You have two choices. You can go ahead and go for this and see where this goes. You can stay the course, girl. What you gonna do? And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? No, I'm good. And I just told her, I said, oh, thank you. And that was it. And I went on about my business like I did. And I was so, like, even to this day, I get so proud of myself for doing it, because I'm just like, the old me would have just been like, oh, yes, this might be my husband, girl. You better go for it. You know what I mean? And I would have been going through that, and I would have been acting crazy, and I would have been looking crazy. And then eventually I would have messed it up. I would have messed it up the same way I messed all those other ones up, because I would have still been in my desperate energy. I still would have been pursuing a certain experience with him instead of just experiencing whatever it is he was trying to bring. So, like I said, to this day, I look to myself and I just go, wow, I'm so happy, that I did that. So that's just that's one thing you need to do. Just decline offers. Get in the practice of saying no, not just to people you want, not just to people you don't want, to people that you might want. And I'm not saying you need to be nasty to them. And I'm not saying, like, if they're really I don't know how to explain it. Like, if they're really stepping up and doing things, there's nothing wrong with going along with something that is a good look. But you got to be mindful of stuff that looks too good to be true as well. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we can get caught up in stuff that's too good to be true. And we just go ahead and, go full throttle. And then we sitting there hurting, we celebrate again. You know what I mean? Another thing is use your time wisely. Like I said, I took that time to kind of educate myself on how men think so that I could start making those better decisions, start being able to pick apart the experiences that I'm having and be able to say, okay, is this a too good to be true, or is this a just right for me? You know what I mean? And it was an eye-opener. And I went through a lot of emotions during that time. Like I said, I was angry. I was disgusted. Then I was kind of relieved because I was like, well, at least I ain't, out here doing this no more. And I don't have to worry about being played. And I don't have to worry about people getting on my nerves and all types of stuff like that. I told you the stories about people getting on my nerves. I was like, now that I know, because I'm one of those type of people. If I know certain things, it's not going to be a problem for me to not deal with it. But I get caught up in it, I don't know. So, once I know something, that's cool. You ain't got to worry about me again. And so that's where I was with it. And that made it easier. Once I got that knowledge, I was like, okay, good. I'm glad I'm not having sex with nobody because none of these people deserve it, So then now we can get into how do you know that it's working for you? Like, how do you know celibacy is hitting the mark when you're practicing it? How do you know you're doing the steps properly? One, like I said, you appreciate things. You feel joyful just because you're alive. You don't have to feel like, I got people looking at me, or I'm getting all these likes on Instagram, or this dude is in my DMs or whatever, and you're not sitting around feeling like when you should be having a good time, when you're at a party or when you're just having this bomb ass experience, you're not feeling like, it would be so much better if I had so-and-so here or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you're just in the moment, enjoying your life as it is, as you should be. You stop making knee-jerk decisions based on lack. You stop just going for stuff. You stop going back to exes. A lot of time we'll go back to exes because we ain't got nobody else talking to us. And then we start thinking, maybe he wasn't that bad. Maybe it wasn't that bad when he did this, that, and the other. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am just crazy. Like, you start second-guessing yourself because you fiending. You get what I'm like, you fiending for, and a lot of times, like I said, it ain't even pain, it's attention. You're fiending for attention. I remember so many times when I wouldn't be having sex, and this was when not necessarily when I was being celibate, but when I just was having a dry spell, and I would just get this itch like, I need somebody to pay attention to me. I need somebody to be worshiping all this. You know what I mean? Like, I really remember the feelings when I was just like, I am feeling, what would happen that I didn't realize was I was getting into that joyful feeling of just being happy, but then I would be like, this isn't enough. I need somebody to see me being happy. I need somebody to see me feeling myself. I need somebody to see me being the shit. You get what I'm saying? And then that's when I would get into, I'm going to call so-and-so up, and then I would call so-and-so up, and then bullshit would ensue, and now I'm back to feeling like shit. You get what I'm saying? And now I don't want to deal with nobody because I'm feeling like shit because I couldn't just go on feeling good about myself without somebody else involved. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta be doing things because it feels good and inspired, and not because you feel like you're lacking something, not because you're like, I don't have this, so now I need to bring this person in to bring this into my experience. You know that you're doing it well because you can clearly see how you got to that bad place. So you can clearly go back without being mad at yourself or someone else. You can just be like, I made this decision and it caused this to happen, and then I was feeling sad, or I was feeling desperate, I was feeling whatever, and then that caused me to want to do this, and now I understand that that's not something I can do. But I feel empowered that next time I can make a different decision. So, once you can make empowered decisions, like I said, without feeling mad at yourself or feeling like I'm stupid. You know what I mean? Once you can just be like, good, I know what I did wrong now. You're happy about it. You're grateful. You know what I mean? So, you're doing it right then. I realized something this week that was like so powerful. I knew it on an inner level, but in my front mind, I didn't understand it. Like I said before, I have 2 baby fathers. And I had two kind of different experiences with them in terms of how they made me feel. The experience in terms of what they did were pretty kind of similar, but how they made me feel was different. And I just realized this week what it was that kind of made me feel different about it. The thing is, like with my oldest daughter's father, my mindset that I didn't understand was, love me. Please, please, please love me. Love me so that I can have value. And so that put me in a position of lack, and that made me desperate, and that made me needy, and that made me susceptible to manipulation. And like I said, even the best of people, and I ain't saying he's the best. I ain't saying he's the worst person in the world, but I'm just saying, like, even the best of men, if you put them in a position to take advantage, when it comes to sex, I'm sorry, all bets are off. All bets are off with you. Men will do whatever to fuck you. And that's on period. Don't fool yourself for 1 second. I don't care if he go to church. I don't care what he do. I'm going to tell you something. You know, 2 shells, 74, you know. Like, I'm going to tell you something. When I had my youngest daughter, and she was about a year old, I was sitting right outside on the step with my little baby, and my neighbor came over, a girl, and she came over, and she was talking to me, yada, yada, yada. So then this guy comes over, and he lived around the corner. Yeah, she thrives exactly like the guy came around the corner, and he was talking to her because they knew each other. Like, this is a neighborhood where a lot of people still grew up at, you know, so they knew each other from when they were older, and they both a little bit older than me. So they was talking, I'm sitting on my porch, they standing, you know, kind of below me, and I'm listening to him speak, and he's telling her what's been up with him. He's like, oh yeah, I work, I got 2 jobs, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, I'm looking at him. He was fine, okay? He was so fine. And he's telling her, oh yeah, I work 2 jobs, blah, 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 you know, I get my kids, yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, oh yeah, I preach sometime. I'm a part-time preacher. I said, whoa, I gotta get me a man like that. You know what? And that's literally what the thought was. I did not go into, oh, him, I need him. I just was like, I need to get me a man like that. This sounds like a good, solid man. You know what I mean? And that was it. And I didn't think nothing of it. And mind you, my baby was like a year old at the time, so she's on my lap. And she's all trying to play with him and stuff, too. And she's so cute, so pretty. And he was just, like, playing with her and everything. So I was just like, okay, cool, you know, whatever. But I didn't think nothing about him. I just was like, oh, I need to get me a man like that. And that was it. So then a few days later, I was sitting on the step, and he came around. He was like, oh, I've been looking for you. You know, I wanted to get your number. Come through, law of attraction. I was just like, me? Yeah, I didn't say that to him, but inside I was just like, you know, so I was so happy. I was hyped. So I was like, okay. So I start dealing with him. Mind you, though, I'm still thinking, okay, this is a nice man. This is a good man. He's a godly man, a man of God. You know, I'm like, I can just be free with it. You know what I mean? So long story short, had sex with him. And then he started changing, you know, and he's not texting like he was. He's not calling like he was. He's not putting as much oomph into the correspondence as he was. And I'm just like, okay, I see where this is going. So long story short, you know, we wound up not talking to each other anymore. And he actually kicked off that whole thing when I was like, I don't know how to pick men. I really was just like, I don't know how to pick men, and I'm done. And that kicked off the 4-year celibacy. But that was the thing where I was just like, I can't do it. But I say all that to say, like, I didn't feel valuable. I didn't feel valuable in that situation. I felt like he brought the value to the situation there. But when I wasn't trying to prove anything, when I was just sitting there thinking like, oh, it'd be nice to have somebody, he came to me, but I pushed him away because I was being like, oh yes, I love, oh, you're so great, oh. It was, and mind you, I felt crazy at the time when I was doing some things that I felt, I was like, Kiana, come on, but I couldn't help it, I couldn't help it. I had been with nobody in a while, and he was just such a, I was just like, I did it. So anyway, but like I said, with my oldest daughter's father, my mindset was love me so that I can have some value. But when it came to my youngest daughter's father, my mindset was totally different. We were friends. He liked me for me. He liked me before sex was even a part of the equation. When we was kids, like, he just liked who I was. And when I started talking to him again, right before we even became romantic, it made me feel valuable in and of myself, which is something I hadn't felt since I had gotten pregnant with my oldest daughter. I felt like I lost my value when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter. So by the time I started dealing with my youngest daughter's father, he reminded me that I was valuable in and of myself. And to be honest, I will be grateful for that to forever, because that put me back on the path to being able to be where I am right now, mentally and emotionally and everything. But my mindset with my youngest daughter's father was love yourself. Love yourself so that I can share my value with you. And so it made me feel so much, and it made it easier for me to walk away from him. Like, I spent 8 years on trying to make my oldest daughter's father be with me, whether it was please be with me or bitch, you gonna be with me. You know what I mean? But it was me trying to make it happen. When it came to my youngest daughter's father, I was like, look, you not doing what you supposed to do. I got 2 daughters now. I don't have time. I don't have time to be fooling around with you. I don't have time to be arguing with you. I don't have time to be sad about you. I have to live my life, and I need to be happy when I'm living my life, because what I had learned about being a parent and going through these things, I wasn't the worst mother when it came to my oldest daughter, but I was not the mother I am to my youngest daughter, because I was so sad. Like, I'll be honest with y'all, I didn't want to live some days, because I didn't think I had nothing to look forward to. I didn't think I had anything to look forward to. And how you supposed to raise a little person and show them the wonders of life and help, steward them through life and keep them going, whatever, well, you don't even want to get the hell out of bed. And she started having problems. My oldest daughter, she started having emotional problems and mental problems, and all types of things went on because I wasn't in the present moment with her, because I was so unhappy. And so by the time I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter, I had to sit down with myself and say, look, girl, we can't do this again. We can't do this to another kid. We can't do this to ourselves. Like, we have to be happy no matter what goes on. We gotta be happy. And I'm telling, it was like a switch. And like I said, being with my youngest daughter's father put me in that mindset of it's going to be okay. No matter what, it's going to be okay, because you're okay. You know what I mean? So it's really, really, really important to use celibacy. You're welcome. I'm glad I could find, it makes me feel good to talk about. Like, some people be like, why are you telling all your business? And why are you because it made me feel so good. I want to share it. Like, I can tell people don't know, because I didn't know. If I had known, I would have did it a long time ago. You know what I mean? So that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm speaking these things. Like, that's why I'm doing this stuff, because this is important. This knowledge can change our whole community. Our community has so many problems that stem from not loving ourselves. And we all talk about not loving ourselves, and we all talk about knowing our worth and stuff like that. But this is deep. Like I said, I just kind of had this realization this week. We supposed to share. We supposed to share a good thing. You know what I mean? And that's a mindset of abundance. I feel like joy is set before me every single day. I feel blessed and highly favored, and I want everybody to feel that way. I feel like I am the shit. You get what I'm saying? But I feel like everybody else is too. but most of us don't know. We don't realize it, or we don't believe it. You know what I mean? And we walking around, we're sad, and we're feeling like, we don't want to live, and then we bringing kids and rearing kids and that, steeping kids in that energy. Like, that's why we have a lot of the problems we have. And if I can do my little part by trying to help people to get past that, then that's what I'm going to do. And I feel so much better now because, like I said, getting to that mindset, just having that one thought of, you know what, I'm just going to stop having sex from now on, led me to, I love myself. Then led me to, I know how to pick the right type of men. Then led me to, I want to teach others to pick. You get what I'm saying? And now I'm sitting here, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be fabulous. You know what I mean? And I'm so, so happy. And I just want to share that with you guys. And so with all that, that's the end of my notes there. So what I want to say to you guys is, look, like I said, I wrote a book. It's called Level Up: How to Unblock Your Blessings by Getting Over Your Child's Father. And it's about getting to that point where you can kind of dismantle those limiting mindsets, that mindset of love me so that I can have value, and turn it into love yourself so that you can have value. Because like I said, it's not about getting a man, and it's not about, shitting on your old man and nothing like that. But hey, some of us are going to have a harder time trying to move past that guy. But at least you can get to a point where you can establish the type of boundaries and give yourself the type of space that you can get to that point where you're no longer saying, love me so I have value. You can be saying, love yourself so that I can share my value with you. Or, I can't share my value with you. I got to share it with him because he loves himself. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you need to do, however it is you need to put it for it to be meaningful and help you be forwardly mobile, then that's what you need to do. But please, please, please go ahead. If you aren't already, follow my page so that you don't miss out on these discussions as I, let you know if something comes up. Go ahead, click the link in my bio. You can purchase my book. Like I said, I'm so grateful for you guys sitting and listening to me every single time. That's why I keep getting dressed up for you. I keep, trying to give you my best because we going to do this. We're going to build this. This needs to be taken across the land, and everybody needs to know. So again, I want to thank you so much for joining me and sticking with me, and I appreciate you so, so much. Please be blessed this week, and I will talk to you next week. So I love you. Bye.
Roll smooth with a bang. There ain't no way to blame you.